Hello everyone. In this chapter, we will be talking about organs and glands involved in food processing. During this presentation, we will be mentioning different secretions that are important for chemical digestion. We will see what chemical digestion is. And we won't talk today about digestive disorders, although I will mention celiac disease and lactose intolerance. So the food is processed in the digestive system, which comprises really two main parts: the gastrointestinal tract, or the organs or different parts of the gastrointestinal tract, and some accessory organs. Here in the slide, you can see in blue color, left side of the screen, the gastrointestinal tract and the accessory organs, like in this kind of orange colors toward the right side of the screen. The difference, if I have to summarize the main difference, is gastrointestinal, those organs in the gastrointestinal tract are in direct contact with food, whereas the accessory organs, even though they are not in contact with food, they are important in the digestive process because they help us to get some of the secretions we need for chemical digestion of food or in general. Let's start with the mouth. The mouth is a place where digestion starts. And in here, we will have what we call mechanical digestion and chemical digestion. Mechanical digestion, as the name tells you, is just about movement. So here we have mastication and chewing, and this will allow us to mix saliva with foods, creating a soft mass of chewed foods that we call the bolus. In here, in the mouth, we also will have some chemical digestion with the help, for example, of enzymes that are in saliva, and this will help us to break down some chemical bonds, particularly, for example, in carbohydrates. After the mouth, we will have this, the trachea and the esophagus, and you have more information in Canvas about how it's possible for this organ to have the function of sending the foods or the bolus from the mouth to the stomach, sorry. So the main function of this organ is to send the bolus to the stomach. This is happening through a different type of muscular contractions, and then this is the way it goes. I will continue to the next part because I'm particularly interested in you knowing the other parts. So stomach is the next part. It has two main physiological roles, or I would say it has different roles, and if we have to summarize these roles, we could say that in one way, it helps you, it helps you to kill microorganisms with the help of the acid in the stomach. So hydrochloric acid helps us to disinfect some food. Of course, if you have, for example, salmonella in your meal or whatever, sometimes it's too high the amount that this is not enough. So, but it's a first step or first level of defense that your body have to try to fight infection. And then it also has many other functions that if we have to enclose them in an overall function, we can say the stomach stores, mixes, and prepares food for complete digestion in the small intestine. How is this done? Well, the bolus coming from the mouth is then mixed with gastric juices. The hydrochloric acid is part of these gastric juices, and then we turn this into a material that is called chyme. So here we have some sort of mechanical digestion. Just by movement, we are processing the foods. Hydrochloric acid in the stomach and some enzymes there will help us to break down some nutrients, particularly important for proteins or chemical digestion of proteins that starts here at the stomach. And we will refer to this again in chapter 5. And then also the stomach, as part of the gastric juices, it contains a protein Intrinsic factor is the name that is important for absorption of vitamin B12. And we will mention this intrinsic factor again in the chapters about vitamins. Then after the stomach, you will have the small intestine. And by the way, I want to call your attention that the name small refers to the diameter. So it's only 1 inch the diameter, in contrast to the large intestine that it has 2.5 inches diameter. But it's really a very large tube. In fact, it's larger than the large intestine. It's a 20 feet long tube that then folds in a way that you can keep or have this or accommodate this into your gastrointestinal tract. This length allows for having a high surface area, which allows you to absorb nutrients through the walls of the small intestine. How is this possible? Well, because of some of the characteristics, the structure of the small intestine will help us to increase this surface area. In addition to having this length, so this is a 20 feet long tube, allowing for a huge surface area to absorb nutrients, you will have, you will be able to accommodate this, sorry, with the folding of this process, of this organ, sorry, but also in the walls, if we have to make a zoom or a close-up to this, it will have this kind of finger-like structure. So instead of having a flat area, you will increase the space for the nutrients to absorb by having these finger-like structures in there. We refer to these finger-like structures as the villi, and this will increase the surface area even further. And each of these finger-like structures ends like a kind of brush. You can see here. So we call this a microvilli. And in here in the microvilli, we will have the cells and enterocytes that will help us to absorb nutrients. In general, these three characteristics, the length with the circular folds, the villi and the microvilli, allows for increasing the surface area by a factor of more than 600. And that's the reason why the small intestine is the main place for nutrients absorption. And also here in the small intestine, we will have a set of enzymes, so many different enzymes that will allow us for complete digestion of carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. So a small intestine is the main place for absorption and also is the place where digestion or chemical digestion in terms of breaking down bonds in nutrients is completed. After the small intestine, we will have the large intestine in here. And you can see that it's really shorter. So it's a 5 feet long tube, but it has a 2.5 diameter. And that's the reason for the word large. By the way, if you speak Spanish, it's easier to understand this because a small intestine, we refer to intestino delgado, which means thinner or thin, and that's what we see in the small intestine. And then for the large intestine, we refer to intestino grueso, which means like broad. And then in here, by the time everything arrives here, all nutrients or most nutrients has been absorbed, and only water and some electrolytes that we will learn in the chapter about minerals. It means sodium, potassium, etc. They are absorbed here. Also is the place where fiber is not broken down, so it will go in, it will pass as an intact molecule through your gastrointestinal tract. And then bacteria here in the large intestine will ferment this fiber. And this will have some good consequences in your health, your digestion, etc. Here in the large intestine is also, everything passes like through this large tube in about 12 to 70 hours. And then whatever is left from the digestive process is reduced to stool or feces, and then it is excreted through the rectum and the anus, which is just the end of this large intestine. Some organs help us to get these fluids or these secretions that will help us in digestion. They are not in contact with food, but still we need them during digestion. For example, the salivary glands. There are 3 glands. They produce saliva, which is a mixture of water, enzymes, and other chemicals that helps you in digestion. The other accessory organ is the pancreas, which is a gland that we have behind the stomach. This organism or this part of your body is important because it produces and secretes enzymes into the small intestine. So a group of enzymes that are produced here, and we refer to them as pancreatic enzymes. I don't know if you have heard some of these names, but for example, trypsin, chymotrypsin, elastases, etc. They are enzymes that help us in the digestive process, and they are produced here in the pancreas. The pancreas also is a place where insulin, for example, and glucagon are secreted, and these 2 hormones are involved in keeping blood glucose levels. The liver here, it produces bile salts, which are needed to digest fats. It has an essential role in metabolism. The liver is the first stop just after the absorption. Everything goes to the liver first, and the liver decides what to do. And if it's something that is toxic to your body, your liver has mechanisms to release this from your body. When you read, for example, about some fluids or liquids that you can drink to detox your body, that's something that your liver will do naturally if you have a healthy liver. And that's what I was talking, the liver. Everything that is absorbed in the small intestine will actually go first to the liver. The reason it has a function in metabolism, so it will decide what to do. Do you need energy? Do you need something else? But it also has a detox function, so it means it has a set of enzymes or systems, some people refer to this as systems, to detox or to remove this from your body. During the presentation in general, I've been mentioning enzymes, bile, the hydrochloric acid, the intrinsic factor, etc. So these all are part of a set of secretions that are involved in chemical digestion. During this presentation today, so next slide, I will call your attention or give you some more information about enzymes. But for the others, like the gastric juices, the bile, etc., I will mention them in other chapters of our course. So as I say, now I'm just pretend to give you some more information about enzymes. So they help us to speed up reactions. There are different types of enzymes, and in your body you use many of them, but we have some enzymes that just break down molecules into smaller pieces. So it will break down chemical bonds. Okay, and this group of enzymes are called, so this is just a group of enzymes. We have other types of enzymes, okay? And within the hydrolases groups, we also have many types of enzymes or different names. We will have within these groups those that will break down bonds in proteins. By the way, the ending "ase" is something that we use for enzymes in general. So for hydrolases, okay, you see hydrolase, protease. And the beginning of this word here, protein, tells you that they are somehow acting on proteins. We will have also lipases. Okay, so this first row in here is about the enzyme. This second row in here is about the substrate. It means in what molecule do they act. And then for carbohydrates, we really don't use the word carbohydrates, but I can tell you that there are many of them. So we have many proteases, many lipases, and we have many enzymes involved in the digestion of carbohydrates. One of the first one acting are the amylases. Lactase, for example, is another one. We have many of them. I also want to call your attention into a hydrolase that we have also in saliva. We have a hydrolase that is called lysozyme. It also breaks down bonds or chemical bonds, but it does not break down chemical bonds in proteins, lipids, or carbohydrates. It really acts on the cell wall of bacteria. So cell wall of bacteria. So it destroys cell wall of bacteria. It breaks down chemical bonds in cell wall of bacteria. And this will be also like a first level of defense against bacteria from foods. Just to finish, take these take-home messages. You can write down there. It tries to summarize not all information, all important information in the lecture, but it tries to summarize some of the information that I think is good to refresh now at the end. I hope this was helpful, and I will share with you here the link to the chapter about carbohydrates, in which we will talk again, among other topics, we will talk again about how do we digest carbohydrates, okay?